All right, so March 21st, 2023, it is now 3:30 p.m. We're going to call this Health and Human Services meeting to order. So starting us off, Department of Social Services, Commissioner Bob Gibson.
We're combining point one with this meeting, I understand.
Well, it's not combining, but we skipped over that. They're just coming to home committee this month.
Oh, good afternoon. I do have two requests for authorization for resolutions, and both would normally have gone through point one. The first is to fill one senior caseworker position, grade 16B, base salary $64,395, and any vacuums created therefrom.
I'll move it. Second.
Any further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Not it tonight.
He's ready.
This is my kind of table.
Yeah.
The second is a request to fill one social welfare examiner position, grade 12A, base salary
I'll move
$48,000.
it.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Other than that, I was going to discuss the FMAP, which I believe the full board took up. That's the pass-through money that the state is well done.
Passed it last month.
I think they wanted to listen to us, but we're not sure.
Yeah, the legislature voted against taking it. So I'm very happy about that.
Hope they win.
I will wait around for any questions. I'll be in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Perfect. Mr. Grandinetti, Director Grandinetti.
I just have one resolution that I'm requesting is to go into contract with for 2023 funding. You can see this.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Perfect. Nothing else really going on except we're going to start the process now instead of like we started the process in November, December this year. So we'll be done by November, December this year, the whole process.
All right.
Perfect.
And all our little summer camps are starting to gear up. We'll be doing
Yes.
registration next month.
Yes, and I pretty much
Getting
have
it back.
all the estimates from the towns that wanted to take a look at transportation issues needs. I will be giving them to Commissioner Gibson on Friday because I'm going to meet with the Hudson from the city youth department plus Hudson Promise Neighborhood tomorrow to deal with their transportation because theirs is a little bit more involved than just the so.
Yep. All right. Any questions for Mr. Grandinetti?
I have one. How are you liking what you're doing? You must,
I enjoy it
you're
a
a
great
fish
deal.
right in the water.
I
aren't you?
enjoy it a great
Yeah.
deal. Yeah,
He usually
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I know, I know.
it's enjoyable and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you,
If I
sir.
might, just before
Yep.
we close out on that topic, so I think I probably will get, and I have no problem, there's been a lot of responses, I'm told, very reasonable, as far as what's being requested. What I haven't got with it, and what I'm gonna circle back for, and this is per my business office, is, when you say $2,500, what does that mean? You wanted to get a, okay, when you say 3,000, what does that mean? Because when we go, and I'll make this clear, I'll meet with everybody or their designees. When we go to get the reimbursement, the state just looks for the invoice and what was provided. It's already approved overall to provide transportation to youth services. It's just how are we breaking that down on an invoice, okay? Otherwise, very reasonable numbers have come back, so.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks.
Next up, Office of the Agent, Director McDonald.
Okay, I've got two resolutions, they're both financial. First one is the authorization to carry over unused COVID funds from last year to this year. We've got this all straightened out through our controller.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, my second resolution is also a financial one, and It's authorization to carry over unused funds from the Everhome pilot program from last year to this year. We had $183,966 left from last year, carry over to this year.
So I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
These funds are tied to the number of people that sign up for the Everhome program, correct? They're support funds for people who, for
Right.
services that
Well, it's
provide
actually,
in support of the
yes,
Everhome.
actually, these funds are paying for the consultant. She's the one that's getting these people signed up. Since she's been on board, she's almost doubled the number of people.
And how many is that?
We're up to about 30 people, and we've got about 20 in the wings waiting. Some of them are waiting for hookups, with the technical support and with the equipment. So, as a matter of fact, she was out today. She had 2 home visits today. It's starting to take hold.
And I don't know-
Any feedback from the longer subscribers?
They're very, I shouldn't, from family members we've heard from, like we've had a couple that are hooked up in Greenport, and they're just elated to be able to communicate with a daughter down in the Carolinas on a regular, everyday basis. And then, of course, I know you've heard the people at our advisory board meeting,
Mhm.
the mother and daughter that,
Right.
they're just pleased as punch with it, as far as the daughter's actually got her life back together because she doesn't have to spend every waking moment with her mother.
So I've forgotten how long the pilot, we extended the pilot once and I think it was through the fall.
This goes through September.
Right.
From that point on, I don't know what they'll do with it. I know the organization known as Home for the Aged, they're indicating that they're going to stay on as far as providing additional financial support once the grant ends. Those people that are currently receiving services, they're going to be, working with them financially to ensure that they continue with it.
Will this money be used up?
A fraction.
Again, that's as of December 31st, that's what was left. And she didn't come on board till late last year. So, I imagine a good chunk of it's going to be used.
Is there any other use for that money? Is it specific to that?
No, it's not specific to that. No.
Okay, because it doesn't appear to me that you're going to use.
Right,
it all.
no,
So we
for
should be
salary,
thinking
no.
about where else did we.
No,
utilize it.
we're gonna be using some of it towards, working with like Verizon and other companies as far as, there are hot spots out there, where technology can't be used. And we're talking about buying what they call hotspot packs or something.
I'm confused, Kevin. I thought this was money from New York State OFA that
It is.
was restricted or designated for this program, that it does have restrictions attached to it.
It is dedicated to this program. It's not strictly towards the consultant.
So the Verizon pack hotspot would be utilized for that,
Right.
to provide.
Yeah, if we find
Provide,
some folks,
services
if
in
there are some
areas
folks out
Okay.
there that can't get hooked up because of not having then yeah, we will get money available.
But we couldn't put it to another program within the department.
Oh, no.
That's okay,
No,
that's the
I'm sorry.
clarification
I
I'm looking for.
misunderstood you.
But if you don't mind, so this hardware that's needed in the home can be purchased for folks who cannot afford it?
No, that's-
Not afforded, no, it's not
an
available.
affordability thing.
Right, no, the affordability comes into play with Home for the Aged. Okay, they will contribute. What they use, we have it's called ISIP, Expanded In-Home Service Program. They have guidelines that are set by the state, and Everhome has adopted those guidelines to use towards funding. Okay.
So they slide their
It's like a
scale,
sliding scale, yes.
and if there's, is it go low enough to reach anybody who wants the service?
Yes.
It sounded to me like the program providers were almost like giving away hardware,
They were.
but they were,
They were. I don't know. They may still have some.
yeah,
They were going to give away 50 of
Right.
50, first 50. And like I said, we're up to about 30 now, but we've got at least 20 in the wait, waiting for this.
So this grant funds will be utilized by the end of the year, whether it's for, the consultant or
Right.
other things that.
We're
would
hoping
be-
to use it all,
Okay,
yeah,
got it. All right.
yeah.
It could include even home health aid visits, right? Didn't you say that if there needs to be
That
a
is part of the
physical
support
presence?
Probably.
Yeah.
Like I said, our two home health aides are,
service. Mhm.
they're, again, they've eliminated our waiting list. There's nobody waiting for home health aid service.
How much was the original grant?
200, right? Yeah.
Right, so I guess, in fact, I don't want to beat the dead horse here, but we've only used $17,000 of it, so I guess. my
As of
question
last
is-
year, we used 17,000.
Right,
Like I
but
said,
this year we'll blow through all that money?
Maybe you have been for a while.
we'll try to. Like I said, as we go on, if we find out need, if something that's not being satisfied,
And that can be rolled over again?
I don't know. That's up to the state.
And
I
this
don't
was as
know.
of December 31st? This was as of December or just?
That figure was there right there. That's what was left as of January 1st. of
January
this year.
1st.
And she's,
Oh, I'm sorry, what was the contract with the consultant? What is the value of that?
Is that 60 something? I can't remember.
the what now?
The contract, what are we paying the consultant? The annual contract? Was it in the 60s? Does anybody remember?
I don't remember.
I
I
think-
don't have that information.
Yeah, I think
with me.
it's
I didn't think it was that.
no more than a third of this number.
Right.
So, but I think it's great that we can really see wind in her.
Oh,
service, that
it's
she's making a big
amazing.
difference.
It's a tremendous difference.
Very slow getting started and I.
My concern, I'll be honest with you, my concern at this point is Everhome being able to keep up with it. Because they don't have the staff to, like I said, she's signing up 2 to 3 people, 4 people a week.
I understood that's a barrier, that their response times are slowing.
Exactly.
Right.
By the time they get the technology there, do their in-home assessment, Linda's already moved on to the next person but we're having bi-weekly, visits with them as far as making sure they trying to keep up with
I mean,
it.
I think the worst thing they can do is to grow this program, but not provide the
Exactly,
service.
exactly.
Then the
Well,
program's gonna fail
Well,
because people
what's
are gonna
happened,
say.
their lead
What's that?
person, just, retired, I guess, I don't know, resigned, retired. And we found out as they were hiring a newer person, that this older person was also doing other duties too. They weren't focused strictly on Everhome, where this new person is strictly focused, 100% of her job duties is Everhome.
Do you know if they've made any progress with the Medicaid payments? They were trying to get this program set up so that, because I know that's been a barrier for some people, that there's no Medicaid support for this. Do you know where that's going?
I don't know.
Okay.
So, interesting, Kevin wouldn't know anything about this, but I'm on the advisory board. I have not heard of any limitation. Clearly there is, but they have not brought up any limitation to serve. It was only
Right.
the lack of clients. So now I'm hearing that we're almost at 50 and we can't serve them?
There've been barriers for at least 2 or 3 months, wouldn't you say, Kevin?
All right.
There've been barriers. I mean, the pace has been slowing for 2 to 3 months. It's not just yesterday.
Right. No, it's
Been in several weeks.
right. They're getting
Response
quicker.
times are
They're getting quicker.
Right.
But like I said, we're getting a lot of referrals now. Linda is drumming up business.
Good
And
news to take back.
It is.
We don't have a motion.
So
I need
I'll
a
make-
motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's really good news.
yes.
Wait the end of August, we're not buying massage table.
Right, figure out what to do.
Right, right.
Of course, if we had a year-to-date accounting
I'm
right
sorry,
now,
was that my voice?
some of it's already gone.
It's recorded.
Mr. Joe Ambrose from Human Services, how are you, sir? Good to see you too.
I just have one resolution. In a vacancy for our behavioral social worker. She resigned in February, so we're looking to replace that. with either a senior or BHSW, whichever one we can find.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And just a heads up, the clerk director has been filled. Hopefully she'll arrive on April 17th. Dan has plans on the opioid settlement funding, is working on spending that money. And even filling this one, we still have 4 other social worker vacancies.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Total, how many vacancies?
5 social worker vacancies. A nurse practitioner, a staff psychologist, a dual coordinator. The dual coordinator is a grant funded deal, so that one's not really costing us revenue, but the others are. And we got ads, we've been running ads for months. Jared Frank's doing a great job, and we get a few bites here and there. And as soon as we get one, we lose one. So it's kind of treading water. So I got,
Thank you.
thank you.
How was the tall cop?
Well, got canceled.
Did it?
It got canceled. He was sick,
Oh, no kidding.
and he rescheduled it in November.
Okay.
jeez.
So,
That far out.
Yes,
That far out.
we want Dirty to go on.
Huh?
We want.
Last but not least, public health, Elizabeth Gale.
I have 3 general resolutions for you to consider. The first one is authorization to accept funding under CDC sponsored grant. It is for a grant of total $588,109 from CDC for strengthening U.S. public health infrastructure, workforce, and data systems.
I'll move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. It's 5 years, right?
We'll take
It's
that.
5
Thank you.
years at $117,000 and change per year, so that'll be great. We have not yet gotten the blessing, the letter that comes that says you've gotten this. Tim did call, we sat there, we talked to them, he said the funds are coming. The only problem that they've had is there was a deadline for putting in your request that you were willing to accept this money or you wanted to accept this money. And only about 75% of the counties put their request in. So they were waiting for the other 25% before they actually sent out the letters that you were granted funds.
You need, there might be more money coming available.
Well, you know,
Somebody else can take- right.
I thought seriously about that. I
Yep,
mean, you
sometimes
know,
that
they got
happens.
this grant,
Yep.
and if 25% of the counties decide for some reason they don't want it,
Right.
they gotta do something with that
First
money.
month's the rest
You
of the
know,
month.
and we could put our hands up
I'll
and
take
say,
it.
you know.
We'll
and
take
this
another
is- and
third.
We'll take another.
I would say be prepared, because they might, you know?
So we'll see what happens, but I doubt that the counties are gonna, they were just a little slow getting their request in. And then the next one is for authorization to contract with a hearing officer for environmental health hearings. We need a hearing officer. So the amount is $25 an hour and they get paid a minimum of $75 per hearing.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the final one is that we will be looking to hire or contract with a occupational therapist for early intervention. We have historically had a hard time getting services, and anytime that there's somebody willing to contract with us, we reach out and grab onto that opportunity. So this is for Jesse Smith at a rate of $60 for 1/2 hour. And
I'll move it.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Do some jumping. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Carried. I actually was at a NISAC conference and I said on the whole workshop about how difficult it is to get early intervention contractors. And
it's impossible. And when you're trying to get, especially to people that are in, it's one thing if you're at city center, but when these guys have to travel and they don't get reimbursed for mileage and you're going to the far ends of counties, you know, they don't want to jump on board. So if you find somebody who's willing, and people are getting very creative with having the families that need things to come to a central location so that the providers don't have to drive all over. So they're trying everything they can think of.
Liz, we had a position personnel. Did they not give you that one?
Health technician?
We,
You did? Okay.
yeah. I can explain why.
Go ahead.
The grant, the $588,000 requires that you hire new folks. So if we put somebody into that specialist position and then we want to use these funds in order to cover it,
But you've got a gap in between, right?
so we've got
You have
a
a
temporary grant. So we're just waiting for that letter to come that says you've been awarded the money and then we can move forward with that.
I have a question with regard to the hearing officer. Were there violations that, or is this just you just have to have one on?
We have to have one on board. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, there are violations. That's why you need to have that hearing officer on board.
And what's our early intervention backlog?
I don't know specific as far as numbers go,
Right.
but I know there's a backlog. They've been
It was
having a
pretty
hard
high the
time.
last
Yeah,
couple of times.
they've been having a hard time getting services.
Who did the survey
What's her name?
with the violations, to find violations? Was there a survey done or?
The environmental staff goes out
Okay,
when they find a violation.
okay, gotcha. I'm
Right.
thinking of it coming in from the other side.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
guys go out, find things that aren't being done correctly and then.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, I was thinking the other way.
Any further questions from Ms. Gale? Thank you, ma'am, for stepping up in the director's absence.
Well, let me tell you, when you see that director,
There it
you
is.
ask for pictures of that date.
Yeah.
One darn.
You gotta put on the agenda next time.
Right.
I'll let them back to bring out.
Yeah.
pictures of it. I have.
You can come to the next meeting, Bob.
Thank you.
Is there anything else in front of the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I'd like to call the March Public Safety Committee meeting to order. I know in here A is coroner's interview. I'm going to move that to the end. I prefer to get through all of the departments and then we can just focus on that. So first one up is Rob Lopez.
Good evening, everyone. I have a request, a resolution request authorization for the chairman of the board to execute an agreement with United Concrete Products of Connecticut in the amount of $533,375 for the installation, design, fabrication, and furnishings for 3 prefab equipment shelters for the tower sites. It is a budgeted expense using the SICG Round 4 grant with the account 30222114. It is also pending a minority and own business enterprise waiver from New York State.
Move it. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
To go along with that, I have another resolution request authorization for the chairman to enter into executing an agreement with Pyramid Network Services in amount of $743,124 for the planning, design, and construction of 3 antenna support structures or communications towers. These towers will be placed in Chatham, Gallatin, and New Lebanon. It is a budgeted expense using the same grant and account number. It is also pending a minority and women's owned business enterprise waiver from New York State.
Move it. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Can I just ask one clarification? The waiver you're looking for is because we could not find any minority women-owned businesses that,
Yeah, we had no
These products.
submittals by a would-be agency or vendor.
thank you.
Data for February of 2023, our incoming call volume was 3,683 calls. I did a comparison from the year before, it was 3,609 calls for the year prior. In February 2023, we dispatched 1,257 EMS agencies, 393 fire agencies, 1,593 police poles, and 398 public service calls. That's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Harrison?
Thank you. No, resolution requests submitted the activity for, the month of February. And we arranged and finalized and set up a New York State citizen preparedness training for the city of Hudson, up to 100 people. And this is a bag event that it's called. So there'll be, New York State will break down and we'll hand out bags. I believe they're like backpacks with disaster support equipment, things like that for people who attend. Also, we've been organizing for the senior coroner, mass casualty, mass fatality exercise involving the county fair. That'll happen in early May. And so that's ongoing. That's all agencies. We have 25 agencies invited so far to participate. And I'll be submitting an after storm report to the chairman, and I'll make that part of my
report next month, with his approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just wanted to thank Director Harrison and your team. Henry was my point of contact, but we had a lot of snow and a lot of power out and a lot of situations we were dealing with, and your team was very supportive
I'll
to
tell
me
you,
as the supervisor.
Thank
so
you.
thank
This was a, what I call a 30-year storm. And it's weird how half the county was very, significantly impacted. And I have a really good feeling about the public officials and Gant, Chatham, Lebanon, Canaan, all the way down Hillsdale, Copay, Ankrum, and the other towns that were heavily impacted because they really stepped up. Warming centers, direct contacts, and then obviously it was the people out in the field that did the most work, utility people, the road workers, emergency services. But 30 years ago, if we had this storm, that we'd still have people without power. At the peak, we had between 13 and 14,000 people out. And by Friday morning, there were less than 100. There were things that popped up during that, but I have a really good feeling for everybody that was involved.
So David and I were communicating quite a bit. You did
Yes.
an excellent job. Thank you.
Yeah,
Brenda, you had a
communicated, Chairman, and everybody, the supervisors here, this did a very good job.
I just wanted to say the same thing, how grateful we were for the services. I mean, my whole town was out. All three towers were out. It was amazing.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the state of emergency of emergencies through April 12th is, what's the sunset on that? The
I'm
press
not
release
sure.
said April 12th, and I thought that was an odd,
I'm surprised they didn't pull that back yet. They did pull part of the travel advisory back.
right.
And that's,
I'm just thinking about collecting FEMA funds potentially with the
Yeah, the
window
FEMA
would be
funds,
for
I haven't
that.
heard a thing about, and if we would have heard about it by now, of course, every county has an amount that they have to meet, the threshold. Our county is 260,000, and the state as a whole would have to meet over 30 million in order to go to the
FEMA.
federal government to get a declaration of FEMA. So to
Probably
be honest
not.
with you, I probably would have heard that by now,
Okay,
and they'd be telling us to reach out and make sure we'd be collecting all the.
if you hear anything about the sunset on the state of emergency, would you let us know?
Thank you.
Once again,
DA Chaika. The first resolution, authorization for the district to accept grant funds, for the one with the salaries is being, no, it's being pulled.
Grant one.
No, the
No,
grant
the grant
funds is the
funds.
one we are, but,
That's the
so
one that's-
authorization for the district attorney to accept grant funds from the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Service. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. And I think that was it.
That was it.
We had the one for the switch paralegal.
That's next month. Yeah. We've got the emergency bill for the chairman to sign, but.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, DA.
Probation.
Good evening. First up, asking to accept the DCGS 13A award that goes from July 1st of 23 to June 30th of 24, and that amount is budgeted, and it's $15,082.
Move it. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Same thing.
All right, second resolution is to accept the raise the age award for state fiscal year of 23. So that goes, started April 1st of 22 to March 31st of 23. And I already met with the controller, and the breakdown of how that's going to work out is on the next page if you scroll down. It's just reimbursement for expenses that we might have.
Move it. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.
And third resolution is financial request to carry over grant funds from 22 to 23. So the grant goes from 22 to 24, We didn't use any in 22, and should be using it in 23.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so carried.
And then we just had the leftover from the annual report that was handed out last month.
Any questions? Thank you.
Is that vote to approve it?
Yeah.
How do you actually vote for it?
Motion to approve the report,
I'll make that motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. EMS?
Yeah.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good. All right, I just have one resolution request, and that's to appoint a replacement deputy EMS coordinator due to the resignation of Sue Van Egan. Sue has been, I always refer to her as like the mother of EMS. She's been around as long as I have. She was a great deputy EMS coordinator, but she's decided that it's time to retire. Her replacement, we have selected as Steve Mainham. Steve is the Director of Operations for Valatia Rescue Squad. He's extremely well qualified, well vetted. He's actually has served the last couple of years as the chairman for the Columbia County EMS Advisory Board. He's well respected by everybody, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table, especially with the changes that we're anticipating coming ahead.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried.
Will he retain his position with Felicia Rescue as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no changes there. Fitch Consulting update. They have been able to extract all the data from 911, which is a good thing, because there's a question whether they're going to be able to or not because it was at the end of its life. But they have been able to extract all that data. They've assigned a data analysis to it, who's reviewing all that data now. They're in the process of working with the GIS and plotting all the information on it. And they anticipate getting back to us probably within 3 or 4 weeks with some recommendations. So we're looking forward to that. Just as a point of information, the timing couldn't be better to bring this group on because really kind of an unknown fact, but in the governor's proposed budget, there are proposals to change public health law as far as EMS goes. There are many changes in there that's going to bring EMS from the 1970s up to the current, which would include, and again, these are proposals, so don't take it as locked in stone here, but will include such things as mobile integrated healthcare. There'll be standards of performance that'll be integrated as well, and they'll also recognize EMS as an essential service. That's in the proposal. Right now, it's not an essential service. And there are many other changes, including a lot of funding to go with it, which would be nice for a change. So, and I believe one of these changes would allow us to create our EMS tax district. I'm trying to get total clarification on that. We're looking at doing it according to economic regions, and there are 10 regions within the state. I'm not sure if we can define it just to Columbia County or not, but time will tell. All this information, I have talked to Fitch and Associates. They're well aware of all this, as well as some other things that are happening within the region. And like I said, the timing couldn't have been perfect to bring this group on board to try to formulate a plan to try to move forward. So that's just information.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Be there.
George isn't here, is he? Resolution for disposal and replacement of PFAS containing firefighting foam to authorize the use of American Rescue Plan ARPA funds for the disposal of PFAS containing firefighting foam and the purchase of replacement foam. Move it. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Rob, can I ask one
Sure.
question on that? So I checked with our local fire department and they had already gone ahead and purchased new foam. Is there any chance for reimbursement? Because they really didn't have the budget. Like when they talked to George was like, oh, you already got yours. But I feel like if we're using ARPA funds to take care of local fire departments that didn't have it in their budget, but had already gone ahead and did it, can we?
Through the county, you mean, or?
My understanding is that this money is to help local fire departments dispose of their old foam and get new foam. Our fire department went ahead and did it already, but didn't necessarily have it
I
in
know
their
it's very
operating
expensive,
budget.
but we talked about that.
So I feel like it's not necessarily fair to exclude those that were
Right.
proactive ahead of the curve, and that it really should be for either reimbursement if they've already done it, or purchasing if they haven't already
You know
done
what it
it.
costs?
I don't. I can get detailed information
Yeah.
from our fire.
What I don't know, what is the fact, is this foam that we stored at the emergency training center, or is this?
As far as I know,
foam
yes.
from different fire companies?
So I thought in a
This I'm pretty sure was
conversation,
from our fire training center.
I thought in a conversation in the ARPA committee, when I had asked about support for local fire departments, one of the things that we talked about was that although we're not necessarily using ARPA funds for giving money to local fire departments, this was one of the way we were supporting them. So I took that to, I guess I assumed that that meant that the local fire departments would get some of this funding, but maybe we need to discuss that further.
So I'll talk to George
we
and
can
then
discuss
we'll
it.
talk about it further.
Okay,
Find out.
and if we want to know numbers, if that wasn't in there, but we want to find out from local fire departments, I can certainly get those numbers.
All right, let me talk to him first and then we'll
Okay.
get back to you. Sheriff? Next one. You have, second one is, executive session?
No, not the resolution, but
Oh,
on his second page, you have something to go in executive, is that
Will
right?
have to be executive, yeah.
All right, so we'll
For
go through the other ones. We'll do that.
We'll have four resolutions tonight. The first will be authorization to fill a budget vacant full-time deputy sheriff's position. This was caused by a retirement as of March 31st.
Move it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Second is a personnel resolution authorization to fill a vacant full-time sergeant's deputy position due to retirement March 31st.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. Third would be a general resolution authorization for the sheriff's office to enter into an municipal agreement with the towns, villages of Columbia County to provide enhanced enforcement patrols. Those, the 9 of those towns include Anchor, Mosowitz, Germantown, Chatham, Ghent, Greenport, Kinderhook, New Lebanon, and Valatia.
Can I ask a question on this before we go? I know that an email came through from one of the supervisors with concerns about some of the wording regarding insurance.
Submitted to the county attorney.
That I understand. So should this motion be pending, like the contract is here and might need to be amended. So should we do the resolution a little bit more broad that
Why don't we say pending?
pending county attorney approval, which allows him to then change it if it needs to be changed? Is that, I'll make that motion pending, county attorney approval.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And then if we can enter into an executive session for the last, please.
I'll make
Done.
that motion.
Second,
Second.
Franklin County, $450 from Greene County, $595 from Ulster County, U.S. Marshal Service, $7,560 for a total of $21,145 in the month of February. Year to date, $46,615. Previous year's total was $5,760.
I got a question. And I heard through the just through the grapevine that we're getting some more inmates that came up from Dutchess County.
Correct. So currently we have 17 out of Dutchess County, 4 from Greene, 1 from Franklin, 1 from Ulster, 2 from the federal government, 1 for all. A total of 26 total. Supervisor Metler, I thought you would want to know that number.
Thank you very much.
For a total of 73 incarcerated as of today's date. We are in the process of receiving 90 incarcerated individuals from Dutchess County, which is more than what we've had in the last 2 years alone from Dutchess County. We've renewed our friendship with Ulster and Franklin. We're housing the incarcerated individuals for those counties as well. And we continue to try to have handshakes with our counties to get their incarcerated overflow as well.
just to go back to Flock, I need a motion to table this resolution.
Make that motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you have a
So
sense
carried.
for how many inmates are pre-trial that are in the jail right now?
Incarcerated individuals,
Yeah, yes. Sorry.
I said it shouldn't be. done.
Yeah.
I don't have that information on me right now, but I can probably let you know in the next couple of days. You can just send me an email with exactly what you want. I'll try to get it for you.
Any other questions for the sheriff?
I do. Why is Dutchess, why are they sending their inmates here?
They're doing a rehab on their facility, so this is a temporary, probably, hopefully 3 to 4 months.
If we continue our friendship with them, the numbers are going up in every county based on censuses. And, court's getting caught up now, so hopefully we can continue to do business with them.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is the coroner interview. What I'd like to do is, Mike Blazel is here, who has been a coroner for quite some time, and Mike's just gonna sort of give everybody here an overview of what they do. I think that would be helpful. And then what we'll do is we'll ask both individuals to introduce themselves and speak to the committee. And we'll go around the table one at a time, and you'll be able to interview either one, ask whatever questions you'd like. I prefer if we don't interrupt each other and we can try to get through this. Once we go through the first round, if anybody wants to go back at it a second time, that's fine. Just raise your hand. We'll go at it a second time. There's all the questions have been asked, then we'll go. Okay? So Mike, I appreciate that you came, and if you could talk to the group and explain what the job entails, I think it'd be very helpful.
We're kind of an unknown group of individuals that work in the dark of night in the middle of snowstorms and everything else. But there's 3 of us and we cover the county 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Since I started, we've rearranged our schedule so it created a half a life for the coroners. Before, when I first came on, everybody was on every day, every night. You got 4 days out of 21 days off. And that's how that ran. So now we work on a 3-week schedule. We do actually now get 6 days out of 21 days off, which is great. We cover 1 coroner a night for the county. We just did that. The state troopers investigators only put 1 investigator on for the night. So it was kind of abusive for us to have 3 people. Not that you got called out all the time, but you had that anxiety of the phone ringing. And you couldn't commit to be anywhere because we respond usually better than, between a half hour and an hour to get from a call to the place. That's important to the families that are waiting there. It's important for the agencies that are doing the investigation. So we're not tying people up as well. So now we cover just over 4,000 hours a year, which is twice as much as a 40-hour week for a regular job. So it's quite a commitment. We provide our own cars. We get reimbursed for gas. We go to Schenectady for autopsies now. There's such a limit of pathologists that that's the closest facility that can accommodate us. So we make arrangements to have deceased transferred there. Usually a local funeral home or a family's choice funeral home. We make the transfer there. We do pay them for that. And then we attend the autopsy. And from that point, the deceased is transferred to the family's choice funeral home. Sometimes we don't have family. And we have to pull a local funeral home to help us to move that. Sometimes they're not involved as the funeral director. So they're doing a great service to the county at a really discounted cost to us. Besides that, now we get into paperwork. So every call, we have to do at least a coroner's report. We need to gather and complete a death certificate. If it's not through our pathologist, it's through the family's physician. And you know what it is to call a doctor's office and you wait. And sometimes it's a few hours to finally get a doctor or get someone to help you. And then to help them along to agree to sign a death certificate, which is important to us too, because if they don't sign, then we have to get the pathologist involved. And that's a cost to the county. So we work a lot of hours to make that happen. We also remove all the medication from a place of death. We inventory all the medication and we take it to the sheriff's office to have it properly disposed of. That report goes as well into their files. Motor vehicle accidents have to be reported. Any type of an institutionalized individual has to have a report. Anyone in a jail, anyone in a water accident. So these are other agencies that we're responsible to for paperwork as well.
So, it's what we do. It's actually, it's a lot. But the most important thing here is the fact of people being available. I own my own business, so when the phone rings, I there I leave. The other coroner now has an agreement with his boss that he too can get up and leave. So in your consideration of this post going forward, someone has to be able to keep up those times and availability, and be committed to the number of hours for the amount of pay that the job provides. So it's a lot to ask from somebody. And I just, when I came on, nobody discussed anything with me. I didn't know how much it made. I didn't know how many hours. I just wanted to do that. I've been working with the coroners here for 10 years after I built my funeral home. And I thought it was a good thing to provide back to the community. But for other people that are approaching it from different ways, they'd have to understand everything that's involved before they get involved and 6 months later say, "Ooh, is this a mistake?" So I just think it's important for you to be very honest with whoever you're considering, as far as what you would expect, what we expect, and what the community expects. So thank you. If there's questions.
I do have a question. Yeah, under what circumstances is there an autopsy, and how many autopsies are there, and what's your role at the autopsy?
I'm a witness. I have to certify the death certificate. That's my role. Okay, so I'm involved with the certification of the death. The police agencies are involved with the investigation of the death. And that's how that goes. We handle between 160 and 180 cases a year. We respond to anybody that dies at home that's not in a hospice program. We respond to every hospital admission where the person passes away within their first 24 hours. And we respond to any type of accidental or unexplained death outside of a residence.
But how many autopsies?
I'm going to say we probably do about 35 to 40 autopsies a
And
year.
in what circumstances is an autopsy
Well,
required?
the police agency may have a concern. We get there, we might have a concern. And the most important person in the mix is the pathologist, because the pathologist is going to sign that death certificate. He's not going to sign that if he's not confident in what transpired.
Okay.
So sometimes he may require just toxicology. Sometimes he may require a full autopsy. Sometimes he may come and do an examination. And based on that and some background information, history for medical issues, he find it himself comfortable to sign. We have a hard time with the veterans hospitals, folks that are under VA care. It's really tough to ever get a doctor. So many times we're pushing to try to get medical records released. HIPAA doesn't apply to the coroner's office, so we're entitled to that information. And then provide it to our pathologist so he can sign. New York State has gone to electronic death certificates. So now we're all our friends on Canaan and Lebanon, where they had a Massachusetts doctor. Those doctors can't sign death certificates anymore. So we have to contact them, try to get those medical records, and ask our pathologist to sign that death certificate. So these are all things that go on, and they will take time. So like I say, it is a commitment, and we have a responsibility to the families in the county to move it along as expeditiously as we can so that they can carry out their plans, and that when we walk away, they're satisfied with what took place, so nobody has a question. So that's kind of what we do. Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to, Kevin, if you could stand up, Kevin Marquetto, please, and just introduce yourself to the group. And
I'm Kevin Marquetto, resident of Columbia County. I live in Volusia, New York. I've lived there for the past 10 years. Lived in Columbia County just about all my life. I moved away for 1 year down in North Carolina and came back. I'm a retired police officer. I did 20 years with Columbia County Sheriffs. I did 12 years as a police chief in town of Greenport, and 3 years at the village of Chatham. In between there, I worked a little bit for the town of Greenport again, so I worked there twice. Some of my training included crime scene, in which I did a lot of the major crime scenes with the sheriff's office and with the Greenport police, more assisting on the Greenport police as we were a part-time agency. I used to process the crime scenes. I've attended autopsies. I've done fatalities, accidental deaths. I've investigated them all. I've worked side by side with EMS, fire, police agencies. It's been a long career with me. It was over 32 years. I've enjoyed it. I look forward to becoming a coroner. It seems odd to say that, but I mean, you need the compassion, the commitment for this. And again, I am full-time and I live here and I know a lot of people in this county. I've enjoyed living in this county and I probably will die in this county. Hopefully it's not my county.
Not on my.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Russell Gonzalez. How are you, sir?
Hello, everyone. I'm Russell Gonzalez. I live in Old Chatham. I've been here for a year. 34 years old. My whole entire life worked in the funeral industry. My interest in public service came about when my younger brother committed suicide when he was 19. And there's a lot of chaotic events that occur when an unexpected and unattended death happens. So I'm from Detroit and I moved here in 2010. I started a degree in forensics down at Borough of Manhattan Community College. In the process of moving those credits to Hudson Valley to certify those, and then hopefully Albany. Albany offers a really proficient master's degree in forensics. I'm a licensed funeral director in New York State. I am currently unemployed. I live up here full time. I just recently resigned from a funeral home in Brooklyn that I was managing in the prospect of running for coroner and holding a position here and, confirming my intentions and my commitment to public service. Ultimately, I want to offer a comprehensive end-of-life care. There's a lot of, as Mike said, there's a lot of what goes in, time, effort, and attention that goes into when someone passes away. And it's important to be able to handle that with compassion and care and, giving them trusted resources, whether it be through insurance policies, and there's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. I am certified with EDRS and the state to do those certificates and initiate that process. Autopsies, I'm very familiar with them in the process of what that entails. And my partner and I, we moved up here with the hopes of being involved in a community and furthering Columbia County as a whole.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So why don't we start? If you don't have questions, that's fine. We'll skip, but I think we'll just go right around the room.
Okay, I'll ask the question. One particular question for Russell. What are the requirements to become a funeral director? When you say I'm a funeral director, what do you have to do in order to?
Yeah, 2 years associate degree in mortuary science. I went to the American Academy of Palliser Institute in New York City.
Okay.
After that, you have to do a 1-year residency at a funeral home. I did mine at Frankie Campbell on 81st Madison on the Upper East Side. And then after that, I became a primary counselor, help families with their loved ones.
Okay, and for both applicants or candidates, what do you think your greatest strength is that you bring to this position?
Yeah, I'd like to streamline reporting. I know how timely and a big time sink that can be. For each funeral home that I've worked with, I've used technology in a way to streamline that reporting, creating transparency and holding people accountable to those timelines that we have to meet. That has to be 24 hours and certified and so and so. So it does take time, and I think that utilizing a Google Drive and keeping everyone involved and making sure that everyone has the information that they need to get to the next step is important.
Thank you. And Kevin, what strengths will you bring? What makes you most qualified for this job?
I think being a resident here, knowing everybody, knowing the fire, the EMS, and the police agencies, these are the people that we work side by side with. You don't have to be a pathologist to become a coroner. Documentations, as Mike explained, a lot of the forms, you know, the on-call, I'm here, I live here. And I think I can bring the compassion, the empathy. I would like to help the indigent. That's but they don't have resources to be buried or whatever. I also like to start talking with the schools, with the fentanyl crisis, being with police agencies and sharing some training. What better person to go than a coroner to speak to the kids today? Or even people in general. I don't even need my kids anymore because they're 40, 15, 60 years old, overdosing.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask a generic question that I like to ask at every interview. We all have strengths and areas of growth. What would you say your biggest area of growth is?
Biggest area of growth, probably just my life experiences in law enforcement. I've excelled at it. I've never had a reprimand in the whole years I worked there. I'm a decorated officer. I've received many awards, many commendations. So I like to stand on my record.
Russell, what would you say your biggest area of growth is?
Yeah, I guess maybe getting to know the communities in the areas of Columbia County. I'm in Old Chatham. I think we all know if we follow the Kinderhook River, we probably feel like we are back in Old Chatham sometimes. So I have good trusted friends in Kinderhook, and you know, when we first moved here, I'm sure we all know the Minahan family, friendly with them, and it's been a really invigorating and motivating process to get around to meet everyone. So I think, yeah, just understanding the area a little bit. I'm more of an Ulster County kind of guy, but you know, my partner convinced us to come over here, so I'm glad we did it.
Okay, thank you.
So, hey, Michael Schmidis, Hudson Third Ward. Thanks for coming and thanks for your interest in the coroner position. I think it's such a valuable thing for our county. And as you were describing, it's such a hard work. So I appreciate that we actually have multiple choices. That's great. The things that I've heard from voters in past elections when we had coroner races is sort of a real interest in people having some like medical knowledge or anatomy knowledge, and just sort of the sense of like, hey, if the coroner is sort of a key person, even if we're hiring a pathologist or hiring someone to do an autopsy, the coroner is going to be a key link in making some decisions or sort of promoting things. And so wanting that person to have medical experience has been, my constituents have expressed that over and over again. And I think the second thing is sort of the relationship with grieving families and how the coroner is going to be this like key personal link to someone at like a time of need. So I was wondering if both of you could sort of speak to your strengths in those two areas. You want to go first?
Well, again, you don't have to be a pathologist, you don't have to be a coroner. My experience is just through law enforcement. I learn the body from the anatomy. I've attended many autopsies. I ask 1,000 questions when I go home. There's a doctor up there, very good, Dr. Yang is another one I've attended with, and they're willing to teach you. But you're really the witness to the autopsy. You don't give the clause. It's just a documentation.
And you talk about sort of your relationship with people who are grieving or potentially grieving. And
well, I've had personal experiences with that.
Yeah.
And that's actually where it kind of started with me. My wife passed away from cancer.
Sorry.
Mike took one respond. And I saw his compassion. And I said, I could be like Mike. You know? Thank you.
Thanks. Also, same question?
Yeah. So during mortuary studies, Hudson Valley did a semester there, and they have this wonderful program where people can donate their bodies to the University of Albany Med, and that is how you study anatomy through dissection. And you go through every organ. Skin, and I mean, as gruesome as it can be, but it's very fruitful in the knowledge that you gain from it. And, you know, it's provoked me to download an app on my phone so you stay current with physiology and anatomy. It's very important, especially when attending a death of someone. You know, if there's vomiting, if there's blood, but there shouldn't be blood, or, you know, those are things to look at and document. And then, you know, compassion and being there for families and listening. You know, that's never ending, especially when someone's passed. And, you know, that's really my whole life, and listening and making sure that people get the information that they need and want. And it's, you know, unsolicited. Like I said, I'm a funeral director. Mike's fortunate enough to have a beautiful funeral home in Columbia County. I don't have a affiliation with any funeral home in Columbia County, Ulster County, Greene County, Rensselaer, any surrounding counties. So, you know, I'm just there to be a resource and, you know, get that conversation started, making people well equipped when they do have that conversation when it comes time to honoring someone.
Thanks.
Actually, I don't have too much thing about your job really, but I have one question. Question was like we are come from background Muslim, so as soon as our corner has a issue the death certificate, you know, all of them death certificate issued it. But we fit in that we have it religiously. As soon as people die, you should go bring a death certificate at the ground as soon as possible. That's our religious. But like yesterday, I have one of the community nephew died in the Albany Mac. So they are waiting for the certificate. I don't know how you elected as a owner or you do that. How you think that as quick as possible? I know a lot of agency was involved. How you think as possible the issue that the certificate? That is my question, because and they have to do waiting the whole night, whole day. That's the problem was there, and I had to all the final guy would sit down over there, and they had to come to the Hudson City cemetery. I have to dig in, so I left the job whole day, whole night was working. So because of all ladies come from the Albany Met, she not issue it's coming from the death certificate as soon as we expected to do issue the quickest. So what do you think your idea? What are you supposed to do?
So there's probably no way to expedite it, the autopsies, just because of the one available doctor, one pathologist that we have right now. I mean, same as the Syracuse like to be buried before sunset.
Okay.
I'm more of that, you know, but to expedite it's very difficult, and it's up to the pathologist, and it would be his call how quick he does the autopsy.
Can I speak to you just on your concerns? First of all, we do take in all religious concerns, even for autopsies. We work with families in your surroundings, and we've not performed autopsies because of that. And then as far as to expedite it, our pathologist has never made anybody wait, which is phenomenal. I worked in the city and made my way up here, and in the city you'll wait. I always tell families, and maybe this is something that you can share with your folks, is that if somebody's in the hospital and they're going to pass away, they need to address that with the doctor right then and there while they're alive, and say, listen, we're Muslim, our religious rights require an immediate burial, and we have to be assured by you that you're going to complete the death certificate so we can go forward. So that's an important thing for you folks to take with you, because even when you call your funeral home, they're going to call and they're never going to get to that doctor. They're going to get admitting, that access, and they're going to go in circles. But your role is to bring it right to the doctor while the person's in the hospital. So, if this should wind up where he passed away, we need to have this right away. This way you're eye to eye with the people that are going to do it. That's just what I recommend.
Okay.
Kevin, did you want to finish on or are you
No,
finished?
no. Yeah, I've had experience working with, reformed and more conservative Judaism, Judaic families. And, yeah, to speak on to Mike, it's important that the doctors and the attending physicians have all this information beforehand. That way it does cut out a lot of the waiting game. And I think that goes along with a lot of, continuing education for our community and just making sure that the elderly, generation knows what to do to put those things into place for that. And, that's just an important thing. And expedited religious considerations do come into play, and a lot of way to suffice any of that confusion and delay is to get ahead of the game.
Thank you. You all set, right?
Yeah, general question, I guess. I mean, this job is a big commitment, hours and crappy little pay. So I guess my question would be, what career paths do you both see yourselves following? And my question, do you have the time, do you think of the time that's needed to complete this job as you move forward? Because I think you said you're on clothing now. You said you're retired? So you probably have more time, but I guess for both of you, I guess that would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm fortunate enough to have purchased a house in Old Chatham, and I have a very low overhead in terms of financial need. I do understand the expectation of what this position requires, and it is a lot of responsibility. But if it's something that you ultimately feel that you would like to be a part of, then put everything that you have to it, and that's something that I feel that I do want to be committed to. I mean, financially, I do understand the commitment there, and I'm okay with saying yes to this position.
Kevin?
Yeah, like I said, I'm retired. I'm available 24/7, 365, unless I'm on my cruises. 12 years as police chief. I wore that cell phone on my side continually. I'd probably be rich if I got paid for every phone call I had. But I didn't do it for the money, that's for sure. And again, even this job, not for the money, just to keep our commitment to the people, to the county, the compassion and the integrity that the office carries.
One more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For both of you as well, how familiar are you both with the geographics of the county? I mean, we're made up of several towns, pretty long
18
range.
towns, 4 villages, 1 city, 654 square feet, miles.
So you don't know anything about the county? I mean, as far as towns you visited, I mean.
Yeah, I've been to Elizabeth, I live in Old Chatham, so I've hit both. I live on the Taconic, gone up and down to the city back and forth for the past 6 months or so. Friends in Hudson, Kinderhook, Spencertown. Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar and pretty proficient in Google Maps too.
Dave?
Raised all my questions.
Sorry. I was just gonna ask about the commitment and, what you're, like I said, you're retired, so I don't know if you work or, have another job, but, and like I said, what your career path was gonna be moving forward, so I guess you pretty much answered that question for me, so.
24/7.
That was, right, thanks.
How long ago did you leave your position?
The beginning of the month.
And how long were you there?
I was there for about a year.
Okay.
Just under, yeah. Had a very good salary, about $110,000, which I left for this.
I have any questions for you, Ken?
I just basically got a comment. I got to say, I've been through 2 deaths that were involved in our family, my father and my brother. My brother, I discovered with my brother, we went looking for him, but he was missing. We found him in his house. He had passed away. But I got to say, living through the experience, I was there the whole time. When 911 was called, the sheriff's called, the coroner came, Jim Bertram was the one that came. They were fantastic. They really went through everything to see what they studied, to look at the body and do everything that they had to do before it could even be moved out of the house and everything. I gotta say, fantastic job. You do a great job for what you get paid. So you guys have volunteered to do either one. Yeah, I appreciate you just stepping up to the plate to do that, because it is, when you live through it and you're watching what's going on and you realize that how professional you guys are when it comes to that and being with the family. So I thank you all. That's it.
So I have a question for you, Russell. My question is, I believe that you have the passion to do this, and I believe that you want to do this, but my concern would be that, you know, you're young and you're moving up to Old Chatham, and this is a 24/7 commitment. At some point, we've seen this in positions in the county, just in general, because these positions really don't pay much, and you find out how much work is involved, and you see people from all walks of life just resign. My concern is that I do know the current coroners really need somebody to be a partner in this, not just say that I want to do it, and then all of a sudden you're going to get another job and I'm maybe not available certain hours. And so I guess, if to add to Ray's question, or to sort of piggyback on Ray's question, at some point there's going to be a career path here. And you know, what do you see that? I mean, you see yourself living up here full time from here forward? I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I have, started a little bit of a funeral home consulting. I help funeral homes more remotely, implement operations for day-to-day operations, whether it be scheduling, expenses, inventory, created a kind of a platform, have on to some of my friends that develop apps. So, you know, that's something that I'm exploring, and helping streamline the industry as it is a bit antiquated. I always say kind of getting rid of the fax machine if we can. That's my target. That's my 5-year interest in starting up. So yeah, that would be a goal of mine too.
thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
So I have a follow-up on that. It sounds to me like, from what you said, that consulting would be similar to Mr. Blazel, where you would make your own schedule. And so if you were in the middle of creating an online app for someone and a call came in, having that availability even after you develop the
Yeah, I'm
support.
very used to response time, and I understand the commitment that takes. That's one of the things that, I couldn't be there for the Brooklyn Funeral Home, is because I wasn't there and here. So, that's a commitment that I do understand in response time, and being there in the schedule, and even covering for maybe the other two coroners that they, family work-life balance does happen, and very flexible and pitching in and being a team player that way too.
And one more follow-up question.
Sure.
So I appreciate all of your community service and dedication to the county and to law enforcement. It seems from the qualifications, a lot of yours is focused in law enforcement. And as we all know, at a death scene, law enforcement is there in that capacity. When I think of a coroner position, Mr. Blazel comes in when I was town clerk often to file the death certificates, and having that knowledge of that kind of other operation, which I think he has more experience with, which is the filing of the death certificates but also that compassion piece. And so I'd love to hear you speak a little bit more, because I think to say I'm coming in with this law enforcement background, I don't know that is the skill set that a coroner needs. So how are you going to take the strength you've gotten from law enforcement and kind of adapt it to the electronic death filings, the online, do you have a lot of experience with, I know, paper forms, but online forms are also more that compassion piece. Like, the first person on the scene, the family has lost somebody, they have a grieving mother, sister, brother. How does that look for you, holding that space? Because I believe that this candidate has a lot of experience with that, obviously, in a funeral home, and I'd love to hear kind of your skill set in those areas that I think are very important, of that kind of holding the space for that energy, for that compassion, and for the grieving family.
Well, justice is filed electronically now. As far as documenting, that's what I used to do with crime scenes. I collected evidence, documented evidence, testified in courts, and everything from a homicide, suicides to accidental deaths. I excelled at that. I was always a senior officer on the scene for that. So I mean, the documenting, looking for validity in the body, and rigor mortis and things like that. I'm all familiar with it. I've done all that. I've worked with, I need to date myself back to Kenningham, his forward.
Kenningham was a coroner for those.
For the ones that don't know, Kenningham has been a coroner for many years.
I'd say many years.
So I hate to take that, but that's what I want. But again, the knowledge of being at a crime scene isn't much different than the coroner because you're right beside them. A lot of times when I did it, the body was almost ready when the coroner arrived. You know, the funeral director would call. We always had the ball rolling for them. But sometimes it's very time consuming to get the funeral homes out and stuff like that. So just being expeditious at a scene, but being thorough. And again, like I said, I've testified in many trials, and I never lost one. But it's the documenting that's more important than Google Maps and Google Earth and all that. I mean, we all know how to use our cell phones, and right now, a laptop suffices for everything that we do. It's basically it's a drop-down fill-in forms. So my computer skills maybe not as high as others, but I always got by with the sheriff's office. I introduced actually computers into the Greenport Police Department. We outfitted all our cars and everything. So.
And when you speak to the compassion piece, let's pretend it's not a crime scene because I think many of the deaths are not. And just walking into a home with a grieving family and.
I walked in a home. A man was killed in a car accident. Knocked on the door. I was with another investigator. Mother comes to the door with a newborn. You explained to her how she was killed. My compassion was there. As she sat there and did not believe. She said, "I'll go down to the hospital with you." And we sat there and we'll sit there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to, put them at ease, to know that, they died instantly or whatever. But, that's the compassion that you got to show when pull children out of the water. Dad's flown in on helicopters, and you meet him when he came out of the helicopter to tell him his son is dead. And it's a compassion that you will learn and earn.
Thank you. And Russell, if you could also speak to that, please, because to me, that's the most important piece, kind of your experience and a grieving family and holding that space.
It's, the discussion is never the same. It's kind of have to meet people where they are and, understand how people react to information. And it's the conversation is never the same. You never get used to it. It's never systematic. It's, you just have to be able to have those answers for them to make sure that the next steps are the right steps for them. Compassion is a very tough thing because there's a lot of things that fly around in your head. Things that probably you don't even really need to be thinking about right now, from financials to grocery shopping to this. There's a big spiral, and being able to be that calm person, that mediator there, just to give them, the next steps, and then continuing that help afterwards. Grief, everyone thinks that you can, get over grief, you can beat grief. Grief doesn't really go away. So it's that continued support and being there for those people the day of, next day, next year on that anniversary, and seeing them outside in the store. It's always a very maybe awkward time, but a lot of times you're met with a gracious encounter, and so it's involving compassion, grief. It's something that doesn't really go away, and you have to be constant with.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there any other further discussion that the committee wants to have before we vote?
I'd just like to say, and this is just an editorial comment by me, and this is no disrespect, Mr. Gonzalez, but I mean, personally, I've known Kevin for most of my professional career, most of his professional. And that's what I'm basing my vote on, is the fact that I do know him. And I know that he's capable, and I know he's
his compassion and his dedication to the job. So with that, I'd make the motion to appoint Kevin Marquetto.
And I'd like to say that before today, I've never met either of you that I know of. You look
I met him
familiar.
on Zoom.
On
We're
Zoom.
On the police reform.
Yes, yes, yes.
Never met in person.
No, and, you know, when I look at kind of what the qualifications for a coroner are, I don't think they're law enforcement. I think that they're, like Mr. Blazel, a funeral director, a nurse, something that's more in the medical end, because law enforcement is always on the scene if law enforcement needs to be on the scene. Having never met either of these gentlemen in person before, if my mom passed away tomorrow, I would want the qualifications that Russell brings to the table.
Okay.
I did make a motion.
To appoint, Kevin, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd just like to say, not knowing either one of these gentlemen either, for me, I don't, no disrespect. Somebody that served our county for so many years and that's familiar with our county, to me holds a lot of weight that they know where they're going. They know the people that's involved, the agencies involved. So to me, it outweighs the qualifications Russell brings. So for that reason, I'll vote for Kevin.
David?
And I can understand your, you know, the desire for his compassion, and I think as a funeral director, you do have those qualifications. One of my big concerns is reading through your resume. It's boom, 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 and I think this is a commitment that needs to be long term. And then again, someone, you know, like Kevin, who's been in our county this the amount of time he has and has served the county as well as he has over these years. I'd vote for Kevin.
I vote for Kevin. I already seconded it.
I also vote for Kevin. I firstly want to say that I'm impressed with both of you. I was very impressed with you, but I also feel that Kevin's been in this county for a lot of years. He's shown his commitment. I'd like to see you, you know, it appears that you're dedicated to do this. There'll be another election. But to me at this point, you're new to the county. And I'm not so sure that you'll be there as we need as time goes on. And I do know that Kevin has done that and proven that. So for those reasons, I would vote for Kevin as well. So I think that's 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no. I think sort of echoing what Tistria said. I really do appreciate like the service that you've already given to the county. I think you do bring a lot of strong qualifications. And I think we're really lucky to have you as an applicant. I would kind of go with Tistria in terms of like what the strengths are, and I think I would go with someone with a little bit more medical experience. And I also think like the technology you talked about does seem like a strength for the office. So that's where my vote goes. But I certainly appreciate that you apply.
Did you want to say anything?
I think this is very difficult.
Yeah.
I think that the quality of the answers, the quality of the questions, and the comments has been very powerful. I'm with Tistria that this is more of a kind of position which would call for Russell's professional experience, but that's not to discount everything that you said. And I do remember you from police reform. And I remember you talking, I think you talked about your wife then. That's my memory. Yeah.
Abdus, did you have anything you wanted to say?
It's difficult. It's difficult. I'm abstaining. I'm going to say anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So Kevin has the more of the yays. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No. Next.
The yays pass. So Kevin would serve till the right. It would still go to the full boards for approval. But I think I'm very impressed with you. I just wanted to tell you that, and I think you get out in the community and you're going to run in the fall, and I wish you the best of luck. And I really appreciate that you're dedicated to doing this. And thank you for coming in. Kevin, thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. I also think that this was a very good experience for all of us in our committees. So thank you, everybody in the committee.
If I may say something, I was very impressed by both of you. I like a lot of what you had to say. You know, bringing in, different technologies, and I'm sure you have this experience with the funeral director. It just, looking at your resume, I'm sorry, it just, we're looking for, I think we need to have somebody who's going to be steady and just, you bounced around a little bit and maybe, and hopefully you find your niche in Columbia County.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
and if that's the case, then I would 100% support,
I'm 34 and I've had those top two jobs for more than 5 years.
Right. It just, it just seems to me like that's just, it was a very difficult decision for me. And I'd like to thank you both for coming in.
So, thank you to everybody again, and a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, everybody.